Alright, let's do this one last time.
Hey.
Yeah?
You know how we have swords?
Yeah?
What if we put our souls in our swords?
Hold up. We can make a religion out of this!
Alright, it's time to delve into a large piece of lore between so many archetypes. The SwordSoul. Part of the Albaz lore and a step of Ecclesian Albaz's journey to take down a church of cultists. The SwordSouls specifically are a group of worms. Not that worm, the other worm. That's the ticket, but if they were also human-looking. Yeah, those guys on screen, they are SwordSouls. But they're human-looking worms that have swords with their souls in them, which, in specific conditions, manifest into a second body for every 5D's watcher's favorite summoning method, synchro. However, unlike 5D's, you don't have to worry about complicated versions like Excel synchro, but SwordSoul specifically focus on level 8 synchro with Moyi and Taya, all on their own since the extra body is actually a tuner token, so you get a synchro with really one monster. SwordSoul also goes into level 10 with Longwan being able to make his own token, or if Longwan is synchroed with the Golden SwordSoul, if you don't have that option, along with some other access to a beefy monster with Chun-Jun, but I'm gonna be honest, it's not really that remarkable, since SwordSoul already has great removal, and Chun-Jun needs the damage calc in order to do its removal. I mean, at the very least, it tributes to special summon itself instead of normal summon itself. Son of a f***! Where Chun-Jun is mediocre, the Iris SwordSoul comes in to be a very solid floodgate. Summonable if you popped in an infinite impermanence, and if there's ever a special summon, the Iris can have multiple responses depending on where it's from, ranging from letting you play a card from your hand if they summon from their hand, Pot of Greed if it's from the deck, and tell a monster to go fuck yourself if it's from the extra deck. However, it pales in comparison to Taya, where any time after he's summoned you can banish a card for a token, making it easier than Moyi to make a token, since late game it's better to banish than count on having a worm in your hand to reveal. But Taya can also set up other tokens by sending cards from deck to grave for later banishing. But we'd be getting ahead, so it's time for the most important synchro on the deck, and one I definitely didn't mispronounce the first time, Shishao. And as probably a very late disclaimer, I am horribly sorry if I butcher any of the names except for Shishao, because I know I'm getting Shishao right, since I watched one deck profile that pronounced it Shishao. When Moyi and Taya call for the big guns, the immediate one to come out is usually Shishao, and when it's summoned, it can search any SwordSoul card you want, along with it being hard to negate with Moyi and Taya being able to prevent it from getting Ash. How Moyi's and Taya's soul managed to prevent Shishao from whizzing himself after seeing a ghost, I don't know, but at least when done with Moyi, you get an extra card. So, that's usually nice, you get free Upstart Goblin when you synchro summon with her. Anyway, aside from Shishao's search, it can also act as an infinite impermanence at the cost of banishing a card to stop that one Runic Huggen from adding Fountain or even protecting their Fountain if it's already up, but you can't do it the turn that it searches because you can only use one effect per turn. Dipping into the rank 10s with Longwan, you have two options: punch everything into non-existence or disrupt the opponent. Instead of calling the cavalry, Longwan is capable of going rogue and decides to kicks. Whatever that means, but you remember when I said that... When Moyi and Taya call for the big guns, the immediate one to come out is usually Shishao, and when it's summoned, it can search any SwordSoul card you want, along with it being hard to negate with Moyi and Taya being able to prevent it from getting ashed. Well, Longwan is the exception to this, it's brought out before Shishao, but after the token and Moyi and Taya are set up, when you go into Shishao, you turn that Upstart Goblin into Pot of Greed, since Longwan, when he's Quicksing, can let you draw every synchro of a worm. Aside from that, he can give the finger to any special summon monster and spell and trap, but only once per turn for each. Doing this causes whatever card you targeted to turn tail and sends it to the banish zone and burns for 1200. Very effective with getting a certain child with wings to never show her face again when you want to protect your deck. This is also handy since Longwan also burns for 1200 after the synchros, so looking at a turn 2, that's at least 3600 damage out of 8000, making OTKs easy as long as you go first. Going second, if Longwan holds up his honor, he can bring in the biggest sword they have, the Supreme Sovereign Cheng Ying. Shenying, besides having one of the biggest swords I've ever laid my eyes on with the golden finish, laser blade, and amazing looking hilt. Was I getting off track? Carter, hit the reset button!
I don't fucking believe this, man.
Shenying, besides having a cool sword, is able to boost itself by 100 per banish card and also cripple your opponent by 100 per banish card, making it a built-in Shizuku and Kagari, with destruction protection by banishing a card from the graveyard, and anytime a card is banished, Shenying picks a card on the field and in the graveyard and sends them straight to the Shadow Realm.
I'm banishing you to the Shadow Realm.
No! That's really about it with the SwordSoul monsters, with them having emergence for searching themselves easier, and for level modulation, punishment as a reusable middle finger, summit for some revival and level modulation, strife for a spare token and extra banishes, and assessment for a boost to attack. SwordSoul don't have the greatest spells or traps, not counting emergence since any search is a good search. However, Alubra was feeling bored and wanted to troll Albaz, so SwordSoul's got their best trap, the SwordSoul Blackout. A slow guy that can let you pick a worm and 2 cards your opponent controls and make them explode, giving you a +1 and your opponent has to figure out how to recover without being able to synchro, exceed, fusion, or link into anything good. This can even stop a pendulum summon completely if you wait for them to set up the second scale. That's about it for the minimum of SwordSoul, but getting creative with the 3 worm archetypes, Tenyi slots in very well, being able for their monsters to summon themselves while you control no effect monsters, and having a non-effect link 1 so their grave and other hand effects can turn on for level 8 synchros, and Shaman acting as a monster reborn when needed. Aside from that, as long as you run Vishuddha, Ashina, and Adhara, the extra deck is up to you, with my preference being to run Yazi for its destruction and float, Braxia for its 2-card bounce, Berserker for being a solid beatstick. You could also run Psychic and Punisher, but absolutely none of my games have I ever needed to use it, since I had such an advantage in life points, it didn't matter. There is also another worm, Arch Nemesis Protos, which requires 3 banishes to summon, but you can declare an attribute to stop any and all summons of that attribute as long as it was special. But it's very banned. I don't know why in TCG and not in Master Duel, but Master Duel doesn't have full power Kashtira, and hopefully it stays that way. If you want an extra Pot of Greed, you can also use Pot of Desires as both a Pot of Greed and boost Shenying by 1000 attack and defense by banishing the top 10 cards of your deck, along with Triple Tactics Thrust to search talent for either another Pot of Greed, figuring out the opponent's cards, or stealing their monster temporarily to use against them. But that's all from me. Thank you, Bad Motorfinger, for editing this video, and I have been forgetting to say this, but I have a Discord server now, so come join the 10 of us already there to help with video ideas and see some decent memes. Have fun using your souls as swords.